The rain fell dry, as if the sky were spitting dust instead of water. John Wesley Hardin knelt in the red mud, his tattered poncho dripping with grime, his hand steady on the revolver's grip. Before him, the shadow of the preacher judge, eyes blazing like torches from hell. In the distance, a burned-out church moaned with the wind. A voice in Hardin's head whispered, "Purify with fire, redeem with blood." His finger began to tighten on the trigger. Before the shot rang out, take a deep breath. You've just stepped into the Wild West like you've never seen it before. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment telling us where in the world you're riding along with us. Now hold on tight, because the dust is about to rise. The rising sun painted the sky copper. Below it, the village of redemption yawned in silence, as if time itself avoided waking it. A saloon, a stable, a weathered church, and a handful of weary souls. That's all that remained. On the dirt road, a man rode slowly. Wide-brimmed hat, unshaven face, eyes sunken in shadow. John Wesley Hardin, on his horse, alongside his rifle in the dust. He carried something heavier, a vision. The night before, he'd woken with his chest heaving. A voiceless whisper slithered through his skull like a snake on stones. 3 names, 3 sins, 3 fires. And then the image, redemption in flames, crosses fallen, bells melted. Hardin didn't ask, didn't pray. He just saddled his horse and rode. He arrived in the village like an omen cloaked in silence. Children stared as if they'd heard his name in nightmares. Men looked away. Women crossed themselves. In the saloon, he entered like a bad wind. 3 men played poker under the yellowish glow of a lantern. One, fat and greasy, laughed loud and mocking. Look who's back from the dead. Wesley Hardin, the prophet of gunpowder. Hardin didn't answer. He tossed a blood-stained scrap of paper onto the table. 3 names scrawled in dried blood. I'm here for them. The laughter died. Cigar smoke froze in the air. One man stood slowly, his hand trembling over his belt. This is free territory, Hardin. The witch hunt days are over. Hardin raised his eyes. No anger in them. No hate. Just a cold calm, like the bottom of a dry well. I don't hunt witches. I hunt the damned. His revolver spoke before the man's mouth could try anything. A single shot. A body on the floor. 2 left alive, 2 names on the list. The purification had begun. The body was still cooling on the saloon floor when Hardin stepped out, his boots steady, unhurried. The sun climbed heavily in the sky, warming the wooden houses and iron gates. The town held its breath, waiting for the next shot. 2 names still breathed. One hid among the faithful. The other, hands dirty with gold and earth. Hardin didn't need to ask. He saw sins on people like stains on raw flesh. The voice in his head guided his steps. His next target was Silas Monroe. Pastor, judge, master words in the noose. Preaching Sunday mornings. Hanging men Tuesday afternoons. Behind the altar, he counted blood-stained coins. Beloved, feared, protected. Hardin climbed the church hill at dusk. He carried only an old Bible and a still warm revolver. The chapel door creaked as if begging for mercy. Inside, candles flickered before an empty altar. Silas was waiting. Black cassock, vulture stare. He rested his hand on the Bible like it was a shield. Turn back, Wesley. No sin here belongs to you. Hardin took a step forward. The wooden floor groaned under his boots. You sold forgiveness for coins. Bury the innocent and wash your hands with wine. Judgment's here. Silas laughed, a serpent's laugh. And what are you? A gunslinging prophet? An angel with gunpowder wings? Hardin opened the Bible, torn pages, bloodstained. In the middle, a hole just the size of his revolver. I'm the last prayer of the silenced. At that moment, the sound of hooves echoed through the town. Riders, dusty uniforms, rifles gleaming in the fading sun. The mayor had called for backup. The hunter was now the hunted, but Hardin didn't run. He closed the Bible, holstered the revolver, turned his back on the altar and descended the hill, a cold certainty in his chest. Before the sun rose again, Silas Monroe would face a judgment no courtroom could deliver. He wasn't after vengeance. He was after purification. And the West was far from clean. Night fell without warning, like a dirty shroud covering the earth's sins. The stars watched from afar, unmoved. Down below in redemption, fear took shape, boots marching, eyes at windows, trembling hands on loaded rifles. His name was Elijah Crane, former cavalry captain, now a white-collar mercenary. He arrived with 10 men, all tough, all paid. The order was clear: protect Silas Monroe, the last moral pillar of that dusty hell. But Elijah wasn't a protector. He was a hunter. He'd heard of Hardin. They said he killed for faith, heard voices, walked with the devil, and called it God. Elijah didn't buy it. He believed only in the dry click of his rifle and the weight of a good bounty. In the Old Town Hotel, he lit a cigar and gave his verdict. Hardin's not a man. He's a bleeding rumor. We'll end this legend. Meanwhile, in the stable shadows, Hardin sharpened an old bayonet, eyes closed, listening, not to sounds, but to commands. The voice guiding his steps now rumbled like distant thunder. The gold dog approaches. Judge Steele with fire. By morning, the streets were watched. No one entered, no one left. Elijah had the town roped off like an animal for slaughter. Men with empty eyes and twitchy fingers manned rooftops, towers, balconies. But Hardin was dust. He was shadow. He appeared where the wind whispered and vanished through the cracks in the earth. In the barbershop, Elijah found a steer skull with Crane carved into it by knife. In the dry well behind the church, one of his men was found with his mouth stuffed full of pages torn from Hardin's Bible. Messages, omens. At dusk, Elijah spoke directly to Pastor Silas. This isn't about religion. It's about control. If he thinks he's got God in his trigger, I'll show him God dies like any man. Silas trembled, but doubt came too late, because somewhere in the town, the prophet of Lead was sharpening his faith. And Elijah Crane, the legend hunter, was about to learn there are things you don't hunt with metal. Some sins only burn with fire. The dawn was thick, the silence heavy as a lead coffin. No color in the sky, just pitch, dense, still complicit. Atop the hill, Redemption's church stood like a tomb. Shattered windows, a leaning cross, silent bells. Inside, Silas Monroe prayed with dirty hands and a soul in ruins. But the heavens didn't listen, and the church door opened slowly, without wind, without sound. John Wesley Hardin stepped in. No haste, no words. The floor creaked like a warning. Silas tried to stand, but his cassock weighed like wet iron. "I've come to purify you," Hardin murmured, his eyes burning with fire not of this world. But before the revolver could speak, an explosion shattered the stained glass. Elijah Crane and his men burst through the back of the chapel, kicking the night inside. Shouts, shots, with fragments flying like shards of a personal apocalypse. Hardin rolled to the side, firing without aiming, each bullet guided by something greater than sight. 2 men fell before they even grasped their fate. Elijah roared, "Surround the bastard." But Hardin was a storm. He climbed the church's inner balcony, boots crushing rotten tiles, his coat flapping like a raven's wings. One by one, the men fell, not to a gunslinger, but to a myth. Elijah was the last, blood on his face, rifle empty, pride still standing. "You think you're a prophet," he spat. "You're just a killer with delusions of grandeur." Hardin aimed his revolver, slow, God right straight with crooked gunpowder. The shot rang out, sharp and final. Elijah fell to his knees, eyes open like doors to hell. No prayer, no regret. Silas tried to flee through the side door, but Hardin caught him at the threshold, shoved the empty holster into his chest, forcing him to fall backward, staring at the blackened ceiling. "You preach the word. I am the word made bullet." Outside, the town saw the church in flames. Not from kerosene, from judgment. The fire danced through cracked stained glass like psalms in agony. And in the smoke, nothing. No sign of Hardin. Only the sound of fire and the wind carrying a half-burned Bible through the empty streets. The sun rose pale, timid, as if afraid of what would find. Redemption was now just ash and silence. The church, a black skeleton, spat smoke and memory. The melted bell lay among the rubble, unrecognizable. The altar, charred. No bodies. Not Silas, not Elijah, not Hardin. But every doorstep, someone found something upon waking. Torn Bible pages, stained with dry blood, each with a verse. Each verse a warning. In the stable, Hardin's horse was gone. Only fresh hoof prints led into the desert, and a cartridge embedded in the wood, inscribed with a knife. It's not over yet. Some say he died in that church, buried under fire he called down. Others swear they saw his shadow in the mountains, heading north, where other sins bloom like weeds. But no one in redemption forgot, and no one dares touch the name scratched into the saloon wall, because in the Wild West, legends don't die. They fade into the horizon and return when the dust settles. And John Wesley Hardin? Maybe he was never a man. Maybe he was just the answer hell sent when God fell silent. If this story burned like gunpowder in your ears, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and comment. Which legend do you want to see come alive in the next chapter of the Wild West? Until the next ride. And remember, in the West, even silence is a trigger.